Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Kickball Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, one of the keepers of Miami FC going into this new 2025 season, Rafael Martell. How are you doing today, Rafa?
Good, good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Thank you for wanting to come on. I appreciate the story. And I think always when, we could get guys who come abroad into the USL system, it's always exciting to have these kinds of conversations and, just talk up a little bit about your career and where it's been.
Okay, should I take it from the top?
Oh no, I was just speaking broadly. Like I love hearing the story, but you know what? Yeah, I would love to hear. What I always tell players, I want to hear every detail. And
Okay.
then whoever's listening to this back, they always I know the kind of people who watch this. They love getting the nitty gritty of every detail. Like
Okay.
your entire journey from front to back, your first memories up until let's say now, and then after the fact, I'll throw you a few questions about this.
Okay. I mean, I'm happy to do so. It might take a couple of minutes, but I was born in Germany in 2003. I lived in Germany until the age of 9. I played a little bit of goalie, not too much. Like I have some memories of like my grandmother taking me like indoor classes because it was quite cold, you know.
Right.
Um, I started obviously because my dad is a goalie still to this day. So that's where goalkeeping, that's why I'm not a striker. And also the skill issue, right?
Okay.
Uh, but I really started goalkeeping more uh, seriously um, when I moved to Miami with my dad and my mom stayed in Germany. They got separated. Um, and there I played for Miami Shores. Then after a while, it's a bit complicated. I forget all the clubs, but like the main
Right.
ones I know are Miami Shores. I think then it was Weston, then Key Biscayne, then Weston again, and then Kendall at the end. Um, at Kendall, it was already like a DA, which is like if you live in the US, that's the highest you can aspire to at a certain age.
Right now, MLS next it is. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But I think in my maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, no, when I was in the youth system, Inter Miami didn't exist yet. Like the first couple of years. Like
Right.
at the end, yes, and we played against them. In fact, the first game that was played in the stadium that they use right now, we actually played it. We lost 4-3 very dramatically. We're up
Mm.
2-0. It started raining. Got scored on a couple of times. um, so that was my youth career here in Miami. To be honest, for a lot of different reasons. My dad had to get surgery, so he was in Argentina very often. And I wanted to play soccer professionally.
Right.
And and I felt like there was more opportunities, to be honest, in Argentina.
Mhm.
For obvious reasons, there's more clubs. Like in Argentina and Buenos Aires, there's like 100 clubs, and
Oh
here
my gosh.
in Florida, professionally, there's like five maybe. That's all of
Right.
Florida.
Yeah.
Um, then there was also the pandemic, economic thing. So like it made sense for me and my dad to go to Argentina. Like, he was already there. I stayed here a bit longer. But yeah, so when I got to Argentina in 2020, I believe, I it was very difficult to get tryouts because they were all like doing, and during COVID, they had like, okay, they had their 20, 25 players, and they didn't want anybody to go in and try because you could infect them, and then nobody could
Right.
train.
Yeah.
So I got quite lucky that my dad had some contacts in Albois and Atlanta, which is second division teams in Argentina.
Yeah.
I am a fan of Atlanta, to be honest. Um, so I went to try out to Albois. Uh, I did pretty well. I made the team basically, which was very surprising for me because in my mind it was everybody in Argentina, they're máquinas, so they're all amazing. And I'm just like,
Right.
bro, I haven't even touched the field in a year because of COVID. So I was quite proud of myself for that. Um, at the same time, Albois and Atlanta are like their nemesis, like huge
Oh,
nemesis,
right.
hate each other. Uh, so I remember before I did my like physical for El Voice, I was given an opportunity to try out at Atlanta, and which was also closer. And my dad, I couldn't drive back then, so he had to take me every day. So I went to that tryout, and I went for like a couple of days only. And you know how it is in soccer. It's very rare for players, to like ask the club for like an answer. Like, I didn't have much of a choice because I couldn't keep putting off, the like I made one team. I could just keep putting off and be like, well, give me a couple of days.
Sure.
So I went to Atlanta, and I literally told them, I was like, look, I understand if you guys don't want me, but if you do, I really need to know, because if not, I'm gonna be without a club. And surprisingly, they said, yeah, like you have a lot of goalies in front of you, but we see some potential. So yeah. And so I was amazed that it actually worked. Um, which is, it was true though, like I wasn't lying.
And at that point you had to go, you had to be honest at that point, and it ended up working out. I'm glad it did.
Exactly, yeah. So that's 2021. I was under the age of 18, so I didn't have an Argentine citizenship. Like I didn't have a passport. Like my dad's Argentine, but until the age of 18, you would have like a cupo de extranjero, which is like the same thing you have here in the US, like as an Argentine like any non-American citizen, right? They take up like an extra spot on the team, right?
Okay, so one of these international slots, like for the American audience, it's one of the internet. Okay, got it.
Exactly. So, but this was like in the youth system, and long story short, I wasn't able to play until I turned 18. So I
Hmm.
trained basically just every day with the youth team, which was at that point was Quinta, which is like U20. It's different there, to be honest. We have Quinta, Cuarta, Reserva. It goes all the way to Octava. Um, so I trained until I turned 18. My birthday is November 30th. So December 1st, I was at the embassy, like, nationalize me. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
That was surprising. You would think, South America nationalizing, and I won't ignore the fact that, I'm a white guy, German. I'm sure it's a bit easier for me than for other people, but it
Sure.
was surprisingly easy. Like after 2 weeks, I had my passport in my hand, and comparing that to the process of nationalizing or getting citizenship from like a US passport, which took me 10 years, literally.
Right.
It was just obviously different because like my dad's Argentine, so it was easier, but still 2 weeks to 10 years is quite a difference.
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
Okay, exactly. Um, okay, so to continue, I turn 18. I make the next round, which is Cuarta, which you can play 2 years in, I believe. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Once you get into Cuarta, you have 2 years in Cuarta. And at that point, like I don't like to say this because it comes over as people could take it the wrong way. But quite frankly, I do believe the reason I didn't play for like almost up to a year was because of like this bias, which I understand, but like you need to be able to, as a coach, you need to be able to, see people on the field and kind of ignore the off-field things sometimes. Let me explain, then it would make
Yeah,
sense.
totally. Yep.
Um, you know, the place we trained was pretty much a ghetto. Like that would be the best way to describe it. Unfortunately, like it wasn't a nice place. Like the internally it was very nice. Don't get me wrong, but like the outskirts, like the city we were in or the town. I feel like I'm using the wrong word. Not city. City is a bit big. Was like una villa, literally, which is a slum basically. And so when a blue-eyed German, walks in there, they don't take you very seriously very often, you know?
Okay.
And and that's honestly, I believe the reason why I didn't play basically all of 1 year for Cuarta. But it was just it was weird, you know, like it wasn't something they'd seen before, you know?
Right.
And on the other hand, I'm relatively relaxed, you know, but I believe that you can be one person on the field and one person off the field.
I agree.
And to make it to continue the story, sorry, actually, like 3/4 through that year, I actually had to come back to the US because I needed to get my citizenship because I had been working for that, or my dad had been working for that for like 9 years, and I had met all of like the requirements for getting a citizenship, but they basically told me, since you're not living here, we're not going to give it to you, like the passport, right? And I was like, yeah, okay, but I fulfilled all the requirements. Like, it doesn't matter if I live here now or not. Um, so I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna be living here now. So I came back like a month later and said to like the immigration lawyer, I live here now, which is true. I had to live in the US again for a couple of months.
Right.
At that point, I was able to train with Miami, Inter Miami, the youth, I think it was U19 for a while, which was very nice. Um, Continuing to the next year, I am back at Atlanta with my American passport, which is very important.
Mhm.
At that point, we had a new goalie coach, Franco Salinas y Miguel Montijo. And to be honest, they really helped me out because, again, on the one hand, I want to be very grateful, and I'm sure I'm going to see this. They don't speak English, pero hola Franco, hola Miguel. Um, on the one hand, I'm very grateful. On the other hand, I felt like it was something I deserved. You know, like I just wanted a chance to play. I wasn't asking to like, be the starter all of a sudden. Like, I just wanted a chance to play. I've been training for like a year and a half, and not with the first team, but like with the youth. Like, I've been going through the youth system. Like, what's the worst that can happen? A player plays for a year and a half, trains for a year and a half. He gets on the field, he does horribly youth system. Like, that's what it's for. And again,
Right.
I wasn't expecting to do horribly, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I really believe, I don't know what happened in the background, but I'm good friends with my goalie coach now, so I'm pretty sure they said like, look, just give him a chance. Like, he seems
Right.
to be all right. Just give him a chance.
Mhm.
And to make it long story short, I performed relatively well. They were able to see my attitude on the field, which I don't show off the field very often. It's a personality thing. Like, I get told quite often in practice, to be honest, like to yell a bit more and stuff like that. And I'm like I know you're right. It's just it's a bit difficult for me. That person comes out more in a game. And again,
Right.
I know it's not great, but it's the reality, being honest. Um, so yeah, I won the starting goalie position in Cuarta in that same year. Sorry, that was the same year I had to get a professional contract. And I started the year off not even being considered for the like three teams lower, you know? But that year was very good for me because I won the first starting position at Cuarta. Very quickly, they moved me up to train with the first team, uh, training with the first team every day and just coming down to play. That's very common in Argentina for the ones, so the younger guys. They train with the first team, and then they on Friday, let's say, they go down and do like set my English is killing me here. Set position,
A
like
set pieces?
set pieces. There you
Yeah.
go. We do set pieces, and then on Saturday you play with your team basically, and then back on Monday you're back at the first team.
Got it. Okay.
So I was doing that very quickly. they gave me an opportunity to play in La Reserva, which is like the second team. But Reserva is like it's quite intense. Like a lot of the players from not a lot, but you the first team can put players in Reserva as well. Like you never know what you're gonna find there, you know. Like everyone's very good and some of them are professionals already. Um I believe I did relatively well there. Um and at the end of the year, I mean, they told me they told my dad, which is my representative.
Yeah, representation, like yeah, someone
Exactly.
speak on your
Uh, again, it's difficult to explain, I guess, to an American audience, but like I'm actually a fan of this team. I've been a fan of this team my whole life.
right.
I made my way through this youth system, you know,
Mm.
uh, and they told me the whole time, "Don't worry, we're not gonna let you go. In the worst case, you know, we'll give you a contract and we'll send you on loan to some like lower division team. Don't worry."
Right.
I'm like, okay, great. I'm super happy. Like that's what I've been working for my whole life. You know, like I didn't even dream about getting signed for like I was living in Miami, playing for I don't know, Key Biscayne or Kendall. I couldn't even dream about being a professional goalkeeper for the team, second division Argentina, where I don't even live. Like it's
Right.
ridiculous, you
It's
know?
hard to put together.
Exactly. So they tell me this several times, but 1 week before just letting me go, being like, I literally walked in there basically, and they were like, "Sorry, good luck though." And I was like I was devastated to be honest. Like I couldn't believe because I'm the kind of person who I don't want to sound like self-congratulating. It's even a fault to an extent, but I don't do anything. Like I just play soccer and go to the gym, and I like to cook. You know, so when I came to Argentina, my only like socializing and the only place I would go every day was there. And from one day to the other, they were just like, "Ciao, suerte," you know. And so that was tough. But to continue the story, 2 weeks later, that goalie coach, Miguel Montijo, he went to Brown Ladrogue, which is another second division team in Argentina. Uh, he called me on like on a very Argentina things. I'm not sure how common it is here in the US, but he calls me on a Sunday at like 3 in the afternoon, says, "Hey, can you come? Can you try out here tomorrow? Just grab your bags and everything just in case it goes well." Like, thank you, great. I'll be there tomorrow.
Okay.
Um, so I show up there. I think I don't remember it was one day, but I feel like I probably did relatively well.
Right.
Um, and my dad had stayed in a gas station with like the bags, like was like couldn't like walk in with a suitcase on like tryout day, basically, you know. So he'd come with the car, went to the gas station to work, and had the bags in the car. I remember like changing, walking to the car, being like, I don't know, my dad's like asking me like, "Eek, like what's going on?" I'm like, I don't know. And I see like the goalie coach and the coach talking, and he points at me. He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I was like, "Okay, okay, great, cool." So I'm like, I call my dad Nico. So I said, "Well, ciao, gracias, Nico. See ya." So I grabbed my bag, and yeah, so they made us do preseason there for 2 weeks, uh, which is, you know, I don't know how I couldn't describe it to an American audience because I mean it was I slept on the floor in a corner with a mattress that had like no like I had back pain, right? But
Right.
on the other hand, it's that's what it's all about, I guess, you know. Uh,
That's what you live for.
if you would have asked me in the moment, I bitched and complained so much. I hope we can curse, sorry.
No, you good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, I complained so much. Because like for me it's important sometimes to be able to like disconnect from soccer, you know. And here was they had like we literally had gym, breakfast, field, lunch, and then like in Argentina it's very common to sleep like around like 3 to 4.
Mhm.
But these guys didn't, they would like play music and then sleep for like 30 minutes, and then we would start again. We would have field and then dinner. But since they slept those 30 minutes, me as a good German, I guess,
Right.
I go to bed at like, I don't know, 9 or 10. Like I start cooking dinner at 5:30, you know?
Right.
But in Argentina, apparently those like that hour and or hour 30 minutes, it gives them energy until like 11 at night. So I'm like there like, after 3 sessions, barely keeping my eyes open. And these guys are like musica, you know, they're having fun.
Right.
And I feel like
Having,
like an ass, you know, being like, bro, turn the music off, please.
oh my gosh.
Um, but and especially when you're like, I wouldn't have the nerve to do it if I was 27 and have, I don't know, an MLS Cup or
Right.
a Superliga Cup. But especially when you're a tryout and you're 20, you're
Right.
not saying anything.
Yeah, it's just different. Yep.
Um, I think we're getting to the end of the story, I guess. After like a month of just, you know, going there every day and practicing, a month and some change, and everybody at this point being like, "Ike on that," like every I show up there every day, and I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
Uh, it's very like anticlimactic. Was I just showed up one day, and my goalie coach was like, "You should go like insist with the." It wasn't even the coach. It was like the second guy. There's a lot of people have a lot of functions in Argentina. I
Right.
think this was like the one of the persons from El Cuerpo Técnico, which is like the surrounding people from the coach, right? And so yeah, I was just sitting outside, like where we have like our breakfast. And so I was waiting for him to come out, and he comes out, and I'm like, "Che, pardon, like, do you know my situation?" You know that? And he's like, "Yeah, give me a second." I'm like, "Okay." And he goes to talk to like the manager, and he comes back, and he's like, "Yeah, you're good. Just come tomorrow and sign." I was
Yeah.
like, I couldn't do that because you know
Right.
it should be like, oh, really, you want me? Like, I feel like I couldn't do that because it sounds like, uh, do we want you?
Right, and you're right on that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, so I was like, yeah, okay, cool, great. See you tomorrow.
Mhm.
And very exciting. I brought my dad. My dad had to be there as I keep forgetting his name, a representative.
Right. Yeah.
Like, representative is not the right word though. That's more like a
They call
political
it they put it in the
manager.
regulation.
Manager. The word is
Yes. Yep.
manager.
Yep.
Representative is like such a political term.
Right.
Um, yeah. So my dad comes, obviously very happy. I signed for 3 years. Um, there was a lot of movement that year in Brown because we didn't have a great season, to be honest. We got relegated at the end as well. But it showed again this theory that I had that I mentioned before of even as a professional goalie, which with our coaching staff changing, because we were doing bad, you know, so somebody got fired and somebody new was brought on. This like, oh, like until I play a game, people very rarely took me serious there. So it's like, oh, you know,
Mhm.
so I was even moved down as a professional already to Reserva, which is like the second like non-professional team, but professional players can play there for a while. And I was like, at that point, I was like the fourth goalie in the club. Um, and then they changed coaching staff again because we were still not doing great. And at that point, we had a game in Reserva, and they saw me play, and immediately it was like everything was normal, like yeah, he's the professional goalkeeper. Like why? What's the problem, And that kind of I don't know how to say destacar, like that small ball kept rolling and got bigger. And so it got to a point where I was playing every game in reserva, which is good because like every weekend, you play, like, you train with the first team and then you exactly. Um, and then there was, again, a team that's close to being relegated, isn't winning much, problems arise, and problems did arise. And I found myself from one day to the other, from being the fourth goalie to being the second goalie, being on the bench against the team that's the first in the league. So that was very exciting. That's probably the most exciting, to be honest. Uh, we actually tied that game, which was surprising in hindsight. And from that point forward, I was always between second and third goalie. I went to the bench a couple of times, That's the situation I talked about earlier, that I almost went in. And there was another one. I actually forgot to mention that one in Aldosivi, which is a team I believe. I'm not sure if they're in first or second division now, but I think they're in first division. Uh, in Aldosivi, which is in Mar del Plata, which is like 3 hours from Buenos Aires. Um, they were clearly doing very well. That's why they got promoted. But I was sitting on the bench, and the goalkeeper comes out of like a cross, and he like grabs his hip, typical goalkeeper injury, and he's like limping and everything. I was like, I don't know, I'm going in right now. I was hoping, I was like, please just make it to halftime so I can like warm up, a bit.
Yeah, look.
And then I was ready. Like I have my what I always do. There's like certain like small things that I feel like individuals do. For me, one is I always have gum.
It's funny. Right on cue.
And then like a caffeine. I had my little bottle of caffeine next to me, and I chugged that, and I was going in the locker room expecting the coach to be like, Rafa, te toca, because you're in. And I go to the locker room. I talked to the goalie. He's like, "Say it hurts, but I'm fine." I was like, "Bro, you were limping. Like I
Right.
couldn't move." Uh, but I mean, good for him. Obviously don't want him to be injured. But
Right. Yeah.
the way he was walking, I talked to my dad after. He's like, "Yeah, I thought you were completely going in, but the poor guy couldn't walk."
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so I'm sorry. And to finish the story, that was like 6 months ago. We miraculously in the last game of the season, we were playing against we were playing away last. So we were the last team. The team we were playing was first. We were playing away. They had to win to get promoted. We had the game at the same time as another team who we had the same points. So it depends. If we tie and they lose, we're good, and if they win and we lose, and we miraculously scored the tying goal in the 90th minute. I've never celebrated a goal that hard, and
Wow.
it's funny because if I tell people about this, like I was in a stadium in Argentina and in Qatar when we won the World Cup, nothing compared to how I yelled and screamed at Brown de Adrogué, Nueva Chicago. It was insane. Like we were done. We were relegated, and then some random cross. The goalkeeper comes out. I don't know what he was doing. We will never know. And happens to the best. And the ball is there. Go. Ever just we exploded,
Oh my
and
gosh.
we had to hide in the press booth because the fans were not happy with us. Obviously, and it's a very, very,
Yeah.
like they were promoted. They were there. Like it's over.
Right.
And out of the nowhere, no. And in fact, next week they had to play like the playoffs, eliminated. So yeah.
Wow. You changed it, like changing the team's season. They changed the team or changed the course of their of how their season should have ended. Should have
Yeah.
ended.
Yeah, and to basically finish the story off, um, I can't laugh at them that much because the week after that we had the head-to-head because the other team also tied, and unfortunately there was no miracle and we got relegated. And yeah, that was quite tough to be honest. Like I was going to talk about it later, but the the like atmosphere, even in reserva, playing in reserva, and like people yelling at you from behind you and like puteando is like bitching at you basically. That environment, even for reserva, I feel like is more intense than even the USL games that I've watched, to be honest,
Huh.
because it's so ingrained in our culture, you know, like uh I couldn't explain it. I wouldn't have the proper words to give it justice, you know,
Wow.
the way soccer is ingrained in Argentine culture. And yeah, the Reserva games, like when we played against like Quilmes, for example, there was like a decent amount of people, like 500 people, you know,
Right.
and a lot of them take it very serious, you know.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that season ended. We had a lot of you know, they tell us we start in November 15th, then it's November 20th, then it's November 30th, then it's December 15th. It's like they didn't have a coach, you know. And I understand, you know, but as a player, like I want to see my family.
Right.
I went to Germany. I came back quickly, you know, just so I don't miss practice. And when I was at the airport, they were like, actually, you guys have like 10 more days. And I was like, cool, thanks. Um, we trained there a week with a new coach. This is again very Argentina things. We trained with a new coach for a week. At the end of the week, the coach was like, "Yeah, we're not gonna be continuing, but good luck." Okay. And at that point, uh, the Miami FC opportunity arose, and you know, I think it's a great opportunity. Was as well when I was here before. I won't lie to you, USL was not what it is today. You know, like
Right.
it really wasn't. Like it has no in Spanish just prestigio, like prestige. Um, but nowadays it's different to be honest. And as well, like Miami FC, especially, you know, has a lot of Argentines, and I think it's a great way to be seen as well. Um, so to finish it off, I resigned my 3-year contract with Brown to come here, and yeah, I to finish it off, I'm surprised how easy Brown la drogué, like how smooth they made it for me to be honest. But there's a lot of stories. If you ever talk to any other Argentine, they'll tell you I was in, I don't know, U16 and they wouldn't give me my pass and I had to do this and that and the other. And here, you know, to be honest, uh, I always had a good relationship with the team, with like the managers, and I'm grateful that I didn't have to go through like some extreme stress. So yeah, sorry for the long.
Fascinating though. I loved every part of this. So one thing I want to add, just for something personally, and for people who want to watch some of these La Cerva games, you know, whether it be first, second, third tier, where can Americans watch football in Argentina? Where's it streamed? Is there something? Is there a website that I could go to? Where could I find them?
For Reserva, it actually depends on the specific team because that was always the thing. Like when you play against like the bigger teams,
Hmm.
uh, usually there's exceptions. They have like a YouTube channel. They broadcast it, and
Oh, dope.
it's
Okay.
great to be honest. Like it takes one guy with a microphone and a camera, and like people can send that. You know, they can post it on their Instagram. Like my grandfather. in Germany was watching Atlanta versus Ferro, which is like it's like saying, yeah, my Chinese aunt was watching soccer from Jamaica, like,
Right.
but it's great. So yeah, the bigger teams, they have the YouTube channels and you can watch on there. Like for example, Atlanta has it. I'm not sure if they do this year or not, but I'm pretty sure they do. I know Ferro has like the YouTube channel. I'm blanking now, but there was a couple other ones.
Nice.
I think Chacarita as well, but we don't like them. Uh, I shouldn't say that, but still.
Oh, right, yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that though too, because I've talked to some players, some Irish players who grew up with St. Pat's and some of the biggest teams in Ireland. And, I don't know if this is something that you could relate to, but this guy, I think at the time, 23, 24 or 22, whatever, how old he was. But he would lose matches in Ireland and he couldn't go to sleep that night. So what he would do just to keep himself occupied was just to look at whatever games that he could watch and was, USL in America was just the one that he took. Oh, okay, let's see what's on. It'd be 4 o'clock in the morning in Ireland, but guy couldn't sleep. And then he ended up signing for the team in Sacramento.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been a cat. If you ever run into the guy Lee Desmond's a great dude. I got to interview him on here actually, but a phenomenal person. I really did like the interview, and he's helped us out like months and months ago when it first started. But that's his story, how he first got introduced to the USL, for example. But that's pretty sick though. That
Yeah, you seem to have a good reach in USL from what I saw on Instagram.
right. Um, so now, yeah, I don't know if you're able to actually go further into, more of like the training or the actual procedures that you were learning to be a better keeper. But it seems like, you know, at least the beginning of your journey, you were just looking for that opportunity, that first year and a half, trying to get something in to try to find other clubs, whether it be Brown or Atlanta. But how do you stay driven to just searching for your opportunity, for your chance to do better, to get into these matches? Where does that come from for you?
It's a great question.
Mhm.
And I don't even know if I'm able to answer it. It's just and it sounds like cliche, I feel, but I really think I was meant for this. Like I really don't like I don't enjoy other things. Like I when soccer I do notice sometimes when soccer gets like stale, like I've had periods where in Argentina when I wasn't even given the opportunity like the when I got nationalized, but then they weren't even giving me an opportunity to play. And I realized that like I started going more to the like I always go to the gym, but like it took not priority because I was always there. I always anyways did the things, but there was more like excitement. I was like I could tell like on my For You page, like instead of like it was being like great goalie saves, it was like gym workouts. Because
Right. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I
yeah.
was like after practice. I was like, anyone's not giving me a stupid chance. I might focus on something else as well. And doesn't mean I never missed a practice for that, obviously. But if not, I don't even. It's just I don't know.
Just that you've always been this is what you were meant to do. I think that's a perfect enough answer that you can't see yourself doing anything else other than being a pro baller.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, doing nothing is also nice, to be
Right.
honest. Like the living in the woods and like I can't not living in the woods. I'm too much of a modern guy. Like I want my gym equipment and my TV and stuff like that, but not socializing with a lot of people and just like living in a like I could see myself living in a rural town and I don't know Finland playing for a good team, making a good wage, and just chilling.
That being your work. Yeah. I mean, that sounds phenomenal. Would you ever consider it? I might be able to find, look, I don't know. I know a lot of connections in the US, but I'll figure out my way to get you into Finland. We'll figure something out. I'll talk with your representation. We'll figure something.
My representation is good.
Yeah.
Um,
it is a political. I don't know if you I don't know I don't know how well you know the U.S. system here. The House of Representatives is the thing that came to mind with
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
representation.
you're like the representative, but like that's not how it's said in soccer
Right.
terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived here for 10 years, so I feel like I know my way around a couple
Oh
of
yeah,
positions.
for sure. So, there's also something to be said for the goalkeepers room that you have that we're able to watch now with Miami FC specifically. I mean, Bill Hamid, he's the starting keeper for you guys right now, and he's been in and around seems like every American level, from MLS to the national team to in championship. He's even played a few. I think he's even played NPSL, UPSL. I've seen him around just
Yeah,
playing in local
I
leagues.
believe so.
Learning under him and being able to watch the way that he goes about certain things. What's your relationship like with Bill so far?
I mean, I think it's good. I mean, he's great. He's very kept to himself,
Right.
being honest. He's in the zone.
Yep.
Um, but the couple of times where like I had a doubt or something, because I love to ask, like honestly. For example, when my dad goes to my games, I'm always like I need him to analyze how I played because it's difficult for me to like sometimes I'm like, oh, I did terrible. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Okay.
You know? And other times like, no, I did well. And he's like, no, you didn't.
Hmm. Okay.
And so with that said, he's not here. He's living in Argentina. So when it comes to the point where I have like a doubt, the couple of times where I asked Bill, I was like, hey Bill, I know you're like focused on, your thing and goalkeeping for you. If did you happen to see this play? What do you think? Uh,
Sure.
and he's always been great. Like it's never been like a sorry I didn't see it. Like ciao. He's always really starts analyzing it and helps me out with that. Um, and it's good because again, like I think he has more experience than like everybody who's ever stood in a goal in Miami FC. Combined. Uh, so so yeah,
Very interesting. Yeah. No, I mean, I've heard a lot about who's been teammates with Bill, and they echo the very same sentiment about him being someone who's very reserved, but if you go to him with that kind of question, he's someone that will give you that time to be able to learn that kind of thing through. And I'm glad that's been your experience so far.
you never know what you're gonna expect. Like uh,
Right.
in Argentina, that I've had great experiences, and then I've had other experiences which not to write home about.
Hmm. And that being said, I mean, you've been able to be in a lot of environments, at least at home in Argentina, and you've been around a lot of coaches like you've talked about. What do you think has been the key to you developing to become a better keeper? What are some of the technical things? I mean, for the American perspective, and I'll speak on the college end more so, but they're catching up to a lot of pro styles where keepers are expected to be not quite outfield players, but they're expected to come out of their goal to be able to facilitate to go back, end line to end line, and that's a little change that we're seeing a little bit with the college players.
Yeah.
But that being said, what do you think have been the key skills that have allowed you to develop, at a point where you're a 21-year-old professional, you're coming into a championship club, and some of these other guys in college, 21 years old, are just that still in college.
For me, to be honest, it was a lot the way I was trained last year. It's difficult to like focus on one thing was like you build a tower and you have 100% of a tower and that 3% maybe sticks out, but like it's the whole thing keeping it together, right?
Right.
Not sure how good of an analogy that is, but of an example, but there's a lot of bricks and this is like not the whatever. I'm just gonna try to
Yeah,
explain it.
no, no problem. Yeah.
And
It's just me.
no, but I failed epically on one end. I tried the other one. I failed there, and I'm just gonna explain it now.
Okay, yeah.
Um, last year. my goalie coach, Matias Robledo in Brown, which uh, he came at the beginning of the year. No, Did he? No, I saw when the goalie coach that helped me a lot and he brought me to the club. When that coaching staff left, unfortunately, he left with the coaching staff. And to my surprise, we got Matias Robledo, which you wouldn't expect this, in Zona Sur in Argentina. But he was like a European style goalkeeping. This is the last place I was expecting, like
Right.
dive up here, dive up there, jump over this flaming hurdle, and then that type of training. And he
Okay.
was like, watch out here and this, and I was like, okay, let's see what comes of it. And it was actually very good. I quite enjoyed it. Like, I mean, there's a reason why the Europeans do it, right?
Right.
Um, there's one thing, for example, which I rarely see trained, and I'm trying to explain it well. If this is the goal, right?
Mm.
And you're like standing on the side, like you're covering the side. Let's see. Can't say it now. Like the lateral goal, right? Like if
Yeah.
this is the goal, you're like facing this way. You just pass back or shoot or like a pass to the outside of the area, to the middle, or just taking a shot from really close. Sounds surprisingly simple, but nobody seems to train it. And that's the
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of play that happens very often in a game.
Mhm.
And it's like these sometimes it's like a slow ball, sometimes they're relatively quickly, and sometimes they just get blasted at you and you just kind of have to react. And for example, I have this tendency of like putting my elbow up. I think it's because of hockey. I used to play hockey when I was younger.
Really? Huh.
One of my favorite saves that I have is which was broadcast as well, which is like it looks like somebody put an ice hockey goalie on the field in a soccer field because it's
Really?
literally like it's a weird play. It's like a through ball but like from the side, and the guy just gets like a toe on it, and but like, very quickly and like speeds up. And I unironically just like close my legs and do like this and like slide
Oh,
over. It was offside
okay.
anyways, but it's quite interesting save.
Nice.
But yeah, that basic style of training and just shooting the ball from here to my foot without telling me where it's going. But that it might just be a me thing. Like I enjoy not knowing where the ball is going. Like I hate I know that it's going right because my body or my mind just like it doesn't work that much when it knows, okay, dive right, dive left. Like I need to not know where the ball's going so I'm able to react and make good decisions with my body.
Right.
Um, I feel like I failed epically on answering that question, but
No,
that's
I think you added it well because it's a different dimension of the way that I think a lot of American players aren't exposed to this European style of coaching. And then you even went into a little bit of the certain ways that you have to learn. I mean, I think I talk to a lot of players. I talk to a lot of college players specifically, and that's why I keep bringing it up. But they always tell me and they try to get every edge that they can because sometimes they played with certain players or it's a lot of this film study. They try to figure out their tendencies and everything else. And it doesn't seem like it's something that you're too bothered with. Just you want to just see it. You're going to react the way. You're going to put your best ability forward, and
pretty much.
and you're going to perform.
There's obviously certain things which you can't argue with,
Mhm.
that have to be a certain way. But I feel like a lot of things are just, for example, like my set position, for example, when I get set for a ball, I'm pretty sure it's too wide because I'm not that tall.
Mhm.
But at this point, it's working. Like
Mhm.
this, it sounds cliche, but it's an art at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
there's certain things that like they have to be like if I get set on one leg, yeah, okay, you're doing something wrong. You can't argue with this, right? But like if it's a bit more wide than it tends to be, uh, or for example, like the low ball, like we used to in Argentina, for example, I always got hate for this, always.
Hmm.
From from quinta all the way to professional goalkeeper.
Oh,
I don't enjoy when the ball is coming like flat on the ground, scooping it up, right? I like to kill it. Like I like to kill the ball. That was not no goalkeeper in Argentina was like, oh, this is cool. But then I would see like El Dibu Martinez,
right.
Manuel Neuer, and I was like, I'm not saying I'm them. I'm obviously not. But it's not like I invented this new thing that's unheard of. Like
Right.
see everybody doing it. Uh, my dad hates it as well. I'm sure I'm gonna get a comment about this from him later. But it's just when the ball's low. If it bounces, obviously you're supposed to like scoop it.
Right.
But if it's on the ground, you just kill it.
Right.
For
It,
example,
yes.
sorry, the Americans here, I'm gonna argue until the end of my days. They started opening their legs to do they kill it, but they open their legs. Like I use my knee, to cover in case
Mhm.
I fail at stopping it, it hits my knee. It doesn't just go straight to my legs.
Right.
But the Americans have decided that opening their legs and putting the um
And you know what, though? I mean, the more that I talk to you, the more that I think this is something, another trait that I'm picking up on is the attention to detail for you. You know certain ways about how you want to play a certain style, about something as simple as just, I mean, you know, taking the ball to your chest and being able to scoop up on that kind of thing. Like there are little things about the positioning of your let that you take into account and you're cognizant of. Whereas maybe it's something that's just a routine for other keepers and it's not something that's so analyzed. Do you think this analytical, or no, analytical is the wrong word, but this very particular approach that you take to goalkeeping has made you successful, at least to this point?
I do believe so. With that said, I'm not sure if other people. I feel like most goalies, sorry, most professional goalies probably do have uh, that precision to detail, or they think about it as well. But maybe that's just a me thing. I've had teammates who've been at my same level, who I'm expecting them to do everything perfect, and then on a Friday night when we play on Saturday, they're like, oh no, I'm gonna go to the club now. I'm like, what? We played them, or what are you talking
Oh
about?
my gosh,
Yeah.
yeah.
But in my mind, since they're at the same level that I am, I'm like, they're probably doing everything exactly how I am.
Hmm.
So I think you understand what I'm trying to say. Like I feel like everybody should be as analytical as I try to be.
I think you're right on that.
But on the other hand, sometimes we have this bias of just believing that everything is in a place because it's supposed to be there when very often that's not the case.
Hmm.
Like sports are the closest thing we have to meritocracy. With that said, it's not. Like if my dad didn't have the contact to get me that tryout in Al Boys, maybe I'd be going to college now. Like
Sure.
it's it's all about like it's obviously hard work, but you can't deny that luck plays such a huge factor.
Right.
And I think that's very often it's ignored. For another story, real quick detour. My One of my first games when they gave me the chance in that year, I didn't start. So the year where I had my citizenship, and I didn't start as a starting goalkeeper, but at least I was going on the bench. But all that happened because there was 5 games of preseason. First game, I'm like, oh, they're finally gonna give me the chance. Better not fuck this up because if not, you're gonna have a whole year of sitting, not even on the bench, and you have 1 year to go from not even sitting on the bench on the third team to professional.
Right.
Really have a long way, a long stretch. First or second ball, I don't even remember, but for the sake of the argument, first ball.
Mhm.
Actually, no, it was a bit. It was. I think it was the first ball in the second half. I was doing well. I was
Right.
good first half. Against Albois, the team that I said no to as well.
Mhm.
Uh, good first half. Okay, let's go. Let's go. the guy shoots kind of from far away. In Argentina we always play on regular grass, right?
Okay.
And here we were playing on synthetic grass, and the ball was kind of weird. And Argentina things like you might show up to a game and the ball is a balloon, and everything is just horrible, and you just have to. No importa. You have to do your thing.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know what happened, but I remember it was a shot from quite far. Like you can't let that in. It was going pretty much straight towards me, but it takes like a weird bounce. But no, but if that ball goes in, nobody's gonna be like, oh, but the bounce. There's no cameras. People are gonna think, oh, what do we put this guy in and he got scored on from the most retarded goal on earth. So with all that said, I kind of dive. It takes a weird bounce. I'm able to make the reaction to do like kind of like this. To this day, this finger, you know, looks kind of weird, the small finger.
Oh, yeah, little.
And that's what I mean with look, that ball could have easily gone in. And I'm sure the next game, again, you never know, but I feel like I probably would have played the next game. But yeah, like, did I get lucky? Yes. Was I quick? Yes. But you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's a butterfly effect that can very easily be stopped, you know?
It's so, yeah, it's fascinating and then that's ultimately why I want to have these kinds of conversations because there's always it's funny you bring up the butterfly effect because I'm a firm believer that everyone has one or two, not even one or two. Um, there are always little moments in really every stage of someone's career or their work life or their personal life that end up shaping the kind of person that they end up being. And I think that's so interesting. And that's why I want to have these kinds of conversations and get into your kind of story. I mean, and it's interesting to hear from the foreign perspective and then now coming to the United States. But huge. Yeah, it's fascinating. And I completely agree with the sentiment that you talked about, with sports being the closest thing that we have to meritocracy. But again,
Yeah.
the luck and who you know being very much a part of it. It's very interesting.
I mean, I love that you bring that up because obviously I agree. Uh, Minor detour again. For
Yeah.
example, those mini moments that you talk about, and you can't prove it unless you go to the coach and like, is this the reason why? Is this to say why I'm playing? Obviously can't do that. But in hindsight, the reason I was put in, I think, for my first game in Guarda was like the other goalie wasn't doing great, to be honest. So there was like an opening, I think. But I remember one training session, we were doing like we were playing around, like it wasn't even very serious.
Yeah.
But I was doing pretty well in like this miniature game, and there was this one save which is like if you would show it to somebody, they'd be like, "What is this guy doing?" Like it was a kind of ice hockey save, I think again, but like even worse because it was like a dive here, like I dove to my left, the ball ended up there, and instead of doing like what a goalie's supposed to do, which is like do the spin and then dive that way,
Mhm.
I kind of got on one knee, like I was already down, right? So I get on one knee, and instead of like doing what I just did. I kind of spun around backwards, like facing the goal, and did like a split backwards and just held out my hand and my foot. And I'm quite agile because I used to play
Yeah.
ice hockey. And the guy just like, he thought it was a goal. Like the goalkeeper was on the other side. So he kind of shot it and I saved it like with the like looking. Wasn't even looking, I was looking at the
What
goal.
the hell?
Uh, and I remember kind of like I was like, I don't know, I felt like that was a moment that the coach saw. And then next week I was playing, which was like look what he's doing. Like he's tried everything at this point.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean
No,
you
it's
never
yeah,
know.
no, so cool, so fascinating. And I gotta find you gotta send me some of this tape too. I need to see some of these block shots, if you even have them.
I have the ice hockey one from the offside the this one.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. That sounds sick. Oh my gosh. And I'll end up putting it on the account too. I'll put it on the story so everyone could see it. That's yeah.
I love that set.
But just looking at some of the other things that I've had written down though too. I mean, I've really liked having the conversation with you just about your career and everything else that's really to come. But as we look to close this out a little bit. Again, I'd like to thank you for coming on, Rafa. It's been an absolute pleasure. I
Of
look
course.
forward to keeping
Thank
up
you for
with
having me
everything.
again.
But where do you see these next few years really folding out for you? Is it just keeping your head to the grindstone and looking for those opportunities in America or abroad or wherever they may end up being?
I mean, right now I'm focused on winning a home game, our next home game on Saturday, to be honest. Uh, and then just for the future, I mean, I would love to stay in my AFC. Like I've had a good time so far. Um, with that said, like I do want to get some game time eventually because right now I'm relatively young, 21. Goalkeepers, very often they debut at like 24. So
True.
like time is not a problem, but eventually I do want to try to get some game time, even if it's, lower divisions or something. Um, so I can see myself going back to Argentina, playing there a bit in the lower division, then coming back here and still being, like 24,
Right. Yeah.
like 2 years of experience or something. Um, I don't know. I try to take it step by step. It's like I feel like every year it's very difficult saying I try to take it step by step when my mind is not doing that. I'm telling you this, but that's not what my mind is doing. It's like every year, the year where if I go back every year, one year I started in Atlanta not playing, and I ended up in Miami FC, sorry, Inter Miami because of my passport. The next year I was not playing, and I ended the year quite frankly thinking I was going to get a contract at the club I was playing at, and didn't get it. But like 2 months later, I got a professional contract in Brown. And then I signed the contract for 3 years, thinking, well, I'm going to end the year and then continue playing in the place. I have a contract for 3 years.
Right.
I open my eyes and I live in Miami now. I give up. Like, I hope I stay here, but like, let's be honest, I might as well be, I don't know, trying to score from midfield.
It's something, yeah. I mean, twists and turns, but it's just keeping consistent and focused and committed to your position, committed to getting better every week, and that's something that you've continued to do, and I have no doubt that opportunities will continue to provide themselves, whether it's getting into those games or other teams calling your name. I mean, you've got a supporter in me and the rest of the pod, Rafa. Of
Thank you.
course. It was a pleasure talking with you. I've got, again, like I said, I asked everything that I had written down, but if there's anything that you want to say to a coach, anyone in your family, anything that you want to get put out at the end of this episode, I want to leave you the time to do so. But if not, that's all good, and I
Actually, you
appreciate
know
it.
what? I will do one.
Perfect.
My dad, he's playing currently in, as he's always played, but right now he has a tournament in Vegas because he plays for the Argentine ice hockey national team. Um,
What?
exactly.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
Argentina has an ice hockey team. Um, he is currently in Vegas, and they won today their first game against Puerto Rico, 7-5. They really need to fix that streaming because I wasn't able to watch the game.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, shout out to him and the team in general. Yeah,
very nice. Well, again, I'm gonna make sure now to watch the Argentine ice hockey team, that Argentine men's national ice hockey team. And Rafa, you got a supporter in me. I'll be making sure to keep up with your career, and I'm rooting for you for everything to come. Of
thank you so much for having me.
course.